Welcome, welcome, welcome to All Natural Being. If you've been following along, you know what this sound is. It's Semi, the gong heard round the world, but now you know we're in a studio that's a little different, so we have the prayer bowl heard round the world. Good morning, Sunday morning. Very fired up to be with you for another version of All Natural Being, another episode. I don't know, since we did the switch over and all this, I don't know, but here's my promise. You give me 20 minutes this morning and I'm going to give you your magic back. We're going to go in and get your magic back because it's like a search and rescue. We got to go in under just piles of education. Got to be educated. Piles of personal philosophy. We're going to go in and it's an archaeological dig, right? It's like being buried in an avalanche of everyone else's crap. We're going to go in and get you out. So give me another 19 minutes and we'll make sure that happens. All right. So now everyone's going, oh, whoa. You know, someone asked me the other day, and a lot of people, because everyone wants to pick a fight on Facebook. Everyone wants to pick a fight on Twitter, right? Everyone's got an idea of just, they're all ideas and I dig them. So, but for me, someone said, well, what do you mean you've been studying this for 35 years? So I thought I would share with you a picture this morning that I've never shared before. I don't believe I've shared on social media. My closest friends and family have seen this picture, but I want to give you a little bit of an idea for our All Natural Being this morning, why I started that on this path, and how you can benefit, right? It doesn't matter what I did. What matters is what you did. Oh, I have an agenda. People go, oh, well, you have an agenda. Yeah, my agenda is you. Right? That's why we say across social media, I'll stand in the way of anyone that stands in the way of you, the real you, the true you, the authentic you, the collapse of the wave function you. So here we go. So however many years ago, somebody quickly do the math. My father committed suicide January 16th, 1986, 86, 96, 2006, 2016. So you get where I come with right? You get where I come with the 35 years of studying this. And here's what I've found. And I've said all along that the precursor to biological suicide is philosophical suicide. When you no longer think that you're connected in any way and that there's nothing, quote, worth living for, the moment you think that, physically, you begin to feel it. So one of the things that I learned very early on in this search is that when you get ready, and my father jumped from a building, when you get ready to take your own life, there's a roll call vote. And what happens is all the voices in favor of you taking your own life drown out that one little voice of reason. Drown out that one little voice that says, look, don't do this. And the beginning of the drowning of that little voice is a philosophical suicide, where you've just, in my estimation, you've forgotten who you are. So in the years since, and thinking back over my father's suicide and counseling hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, if not 1,000, hundreds of people, loved ones of people that have committed suicide, they know that their loved one forgot who they truly were. Because when you remember who you truly are, the last thing you want to do is call the shots early. You're not afraid of death. You're not afraid of going back to the wave. You're not afraid of any of those things, but you're not going to tip your hand early. And one of the people that was most instrumental to me shortly after, I was a police officer in New York, as you may know, if you followed me at all. I was asked to respond to the scene of his suicide, identify his body. Shortly thereafter, I resigned from the police department. I was a criminal investigator in New York. I resigned from the police department, and because really I was just crushed by what had happened. And one of the places that I drew the most solace was from the writings, and I would go on throughout the years and get the collected works. And then like a cop, I would study in the bibliography everything that he studied. But I will tell you that one of the most instrumental authors in all of his books for me at that time, and then throughout my life, was Joseph Campbell and the Hero of the Thousand Faces. So if you bear with me, I want to share with you a little bit of what he said about the search for the Grail, the Holy Grail. And for me, one of the meanings of the Holy Grail is that thing that is you, right? I understand that a lot of people say that the Holy Grail is a chalice. It's the cup of Christ's blood. It's all different kinds of explanation for it. But for me, it's always been you, tat tvam asi, thou art that. You art that Grail. But in Campbell's book, they made it clear that in search of reminders to who you really were, that they entered the forest where there was no track nor path. They entered the forest where the way was darkest, right? Because to go in any other way would have only brought them shame. And when the Knights of the Round Table set out in search of that grail, they did just that, where the track was lost. And I think at times people look at being lost, look at that and think, oh man, it's just not worth it. I'm in this maze. I'm in this, as I call it, as you know, the labyrinth of life here in the Garden of the Mortals. I'm in this maze. I'm just never going to get out. It's like kudzu vines, right? It's an invasive species. And these thoughts, this binge thinking gets into your mind and it just is not going to stop until it gets you to tap out. But nonetheless, the knights in search of the Round Temple, they entered the forest where there was no track nor path. And again, for to follow in the footsteps of another would have only brought them shame. So it's on you to figure out your interpretation of this labyrinth of life, your interpretation of the forest. And then, of course, you're going, well, Brian, how could you not have King Arthur and pulling the sword from the stone? And here's what I've taken in 35 years of investigation, in all of it. Yes, that particular stone held the sword that called King Arthur. But you have a sword to pull. Your authentic vigor, your natural resources, your buried logic, your mind's marrow is that sword. What the heck are you here to do? Forget about looking, I'm searching for my calling. Forget about all the baloney of the self-help industry tactics, right? The motivation industrial complex. Forget all of that. You got to get this. You got to go into goal setting. You need bucket lists. You need whiteboard challenges. There's nothing. Forget all that crap. What is your sword? What is it that you're to pull? And now you've probably surmised that you are that sword, that you pull it from the stone, and that it's on you to make your mark in life, to draw your line in the sand. Years ago, I was given the quote of Liberty's line in the sand. But here's the thing. It's up to you to pull that sword and to mark that line in the sand. And now, I think there's a benefit, because you're going to get all kinds of crap. Everyone, in terms of the socialization that is bought into trying to control and manipulate you. You're going to catch all kinds of crap, but what's the benefit? Now, I know you're saying, well, Brian, how did you go from there to, I will tell you, to this day, one of the songs that grabs me the most is Ode to Joy by Beethoven. Schiller's poem, Friedrich Schiller's poem, but then it's been made famous. No one reads good old Freddie's poetry, let's be honest. But some of us do, but not everybody, not most people, right? Don't read that. But Beethoven then said, oh, I like that. That's a nice little bathroom read, right? Because there wasn't the New York Times at that point. Which I get, if you get a subscription to the New York Times, why are you hoarding toilet paper? I've never really thought of that. I've never been able to figure that out. Well, in any event, in Schiller's poem, it talks about the oneness of everything, and that society's customs, the norms, have brought the sword that cleaves us. So what he's talking about when he talks about Elysium's daughter, right, and that connection of all men and women under the starry canopy, he's talking about you and convention, all the crap that we've been taught since we were younger, and the motivation industrial complex with their self-help industry tactics. All their snake oil is to get you to believe that you somehow need to buy their book, their bauble, their widget, their snake oil, whatever it is, in order to be able to do this. Well, it's not finding anything. It's uncovering who you truly are and creating that opportunity to pull the sword from the stone. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But getting back to good old Ode to Joy and Beethoven, there's a benefit to that. As I said earlier, you put up with a bunch of crap. A lot of people are going to come at you and go, oh, you have to dovetail. Oh, you got to, right? You got to be congruent. You have to be congruent with your sword and the stone. What are you here to do? Now, the benefit of that is, remember, it's a collapse of the wave function. If you want to do all science, quantum physics, the collapse of the wave function means that you're one of these little drops in the wave, and that one day you will return to the wave. And I hope it's a long time before you do. but the benefit of recognizing that you're to pull the sword from the stone, that you're to enter the forest where there is no track nor path, that it's on you to do these things. I believe, in my years of study, with the visualization, and don't let them convince you that meditation has to tweak your knees and bust your back and your butt just gets numb from all that sitting. All a bunch of more snake oil. You're breathing. You're remembering who you really are. You're paring away one little ice cream spoonful at a time, the amnesia that keeps you, that blocks you from seeing who you are. That when you do that, it's my estimation that the universe itself, Ode to Joy, it starts off, Schiller's poem starts off with the sparkle of God, spark of the universe itself. And you know that I believe that you are a satellite office of that universe. You are a collapse of that wave function. You are a collapse of that state vector. And within you is every ability, everything you've ever needed, you've always had. So don't believe all the people that go, oh, you got to get this, you got to get that, you need this, you need that. You don't need dog crap, except the remembrance of who you truly are. Now, here's my estimation. Here's the payoff, if you will. It has been my understanding and my personal knowledge that when you remember who you are, the wave returns the favor. When we hear, the Scottish Himalayan expedition in the poem that the moment one commits, all providence moves too. Well, what is this providence? This providence is the wave. And when you commit, it's as if when you remember who you are, the wave remembers why you're here. The wave remembers that you're here to pull your sword from the stone. The wave remembers that you're to enter the forest where there was no track nor path, for to follow in the footsteps of another, right? You're here to enter the forest where the way is lost. And when you forget those messages, it leads to this headline. Sadly, my father forgot who he was. Now, the families of the people that have forgotten who they were, we're the ones left to deal with that suicide. But let's just say for a moment, that philosophical suicide, before there's a biological one, long before there's a biological one, let's just say that I'm correct. And once that you recognize, and the terms of being grateful and thankful, when we do our 20-minute victories, I say all the time, you give me 20 minutes, I'll give you your magic back. The magic is you. No potions, no snake oils, no checklists, no masterminds, none of this other crap. That potion is you, and remembering who you ultimately are. Lose the amnesia. There's nothing for you to get, but everything to get rid of. Jettison it. You're like a bellman. Drop the bags at the curb and remember who you ultimately are. And it is my contention that when you do, the wave recognizes you as a brother or a sister, and then the wave goes, well, we're Providence. We're going to move too. And then all kinds of things, whether it's Campbell or any of the poetry that read that the moment you commit, things just seem to unlock here in the Garden of the Mortals, the labyrinth of life. Things just seem to present themselves. It's as if you're weaponizing your surroundings, and everything you need in that particular moment in all of time is right there for you right then. That's the benefit of remembering who you are, and that the wave dovetails with your version, your vision of pulling the sword from the stone. I would have said sword, but apparently I needed to swallow there. Oh, pulling your sword from the stone. And when you think of Beethoven's Ode to Joy, don't let convention divide us. With everything going on in the world today, I think, I got into a little spat over on Twitter with the Wall Street Journal. Oh, in trying times like these, what a crock of horse manure. Every time is a trying time. Life itself is a trying time. Don't buy into the hysteria. Don't buy into the mania. Because what's the mania to do? The mania is that dark forest where the way is lost, where there is no track nor path. That's the mania. They want you there. They don't, for heaven's sakes, they don't want you pulling your sword from the stone, because then you call the shots. You draw the line in the sand, and you absolutely, unequivocally, no holds barred. You refuse to be played. You refuse to be gullible. You refuse to stand anymore and let someone else play you like a puppet. Someone else play you like they've got a remote control to who you ultimately are. So when we talk about a 20-minute victory, We talk about, and you don't have to do a morning at noon and at night the way I do, but even today when we're off here, take that 20 minutes and think back as far as you can. And when you've gone as far as you think you can, go further. Go back to the very marrow of your mind. Because going back through all that amnesia, that's why I've said this week, it's an archaeological dig. It's like being a rescue swimmer for the Coast Guard. You need to be your own rescue thinker so that you may thrive, so that you may pull the sword from the stone. Because it's on you. You're King Arthur, right? You're Joan of Arc. You're the one that's made to make all the difference in this world. And I can't tell you with all the mashugana, all the craziness. I had to go out yesterday, I guess it was. And just the air. Everyone says, oh, well, you got to wear a mask. The air of defeat. Just the air of giving in. It's choking. You can feel it. People are just tapping out left and right. And they want you where the way is lost, where the forest is thickest. Because if they can get you to focus, then they know you don't have any energy left to pull your sword from the stone. That's not the wave. That's not why the wave gave you the collapse of the state vector. It's not why you're here. Why are you here? What sword are you to draw? Don't get caught in all the mashugana. As I said, there's a headline for people that do. What are you here to do? That's why I say all the time, we're going to need new leaders. And I think you're that leader. We're going to need someone with the courage to be able to stand and draw their sword from the stone. That's why when we talk about all natural being is minus all the things that cause amnesia, all the critics and these walking, talking Venus flytraps in your life. These these little piles of quicksand with arms and legs. Ignore them. What are you to do? What will you do? Are you going to tuck tail and run? Are you going to face fate, square your shoulders and go, fate, you picked the wrong person. You picked the wrong girl. You picked the wrong guy. You've heard me say, if you follow me all these years, you got to out-brutal the brutal. When fate whispers brutal, you can look back at fate and say, I am the brutal. What is it you're possibly going to attempt to scare me with? We got to out-brutal the brutal. And most certainly in this time, with all the mashugana, all the craziness going on, it's time to look up, to stand up, to bring your own bold, and to mortal up. Because you're the one that's going to make all the difference. You're the one that has the ability to put your family and friends behind your back in the time of emergency and go, don't worry, I got this. It's in you. Now, if you want to turn a blind eye and a deaf ear, you want to turn your own back on your backbone, that's up to you. But if you choose to do that, get the hell out of the way for those of us that choose not to. For those of us that remember what it means to be a part of the wave. For those of us that will weaponize the moment at hand and pull the sword from the stone. That will enter the forest where there is no track nor path. Because the last thing we're afraid of is fate's crap. All right, we got to go ahead and get out of here. Well, look, have a fantastic Sunday, the rest of your Sunday. And remember, it's in you to pull that sword from the stone. It's in you to enter the forest. Yea, though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I fear no evil. Every religion has their version of that. Not just Judeo-Christian. Every religion has their version. And remember that no matter how dark it gets, no matter how bad it gets, you were built for the bad. Your back was built for the corner. That the perfect place to ricochet is from rock bottom. All right, there, I gotcha. I know I said I would stop. All right, I just said, what did I just say? Done. Oh, I guess I got hit that. All right, wait, you're really serious about this, aren't you? All right, there you go. That's how you do it. Have an absolutely fantastic Sunday. If there's anything we can do for you, please don't forget to come on over to mortalup.com. Oh, and drop us a note, nominate your low-life making headlines for the Brian Brody Show throughout the week, or nominate your mortal up throughout the week. You can hit the subscribe button to the YouTube channel and learn everything else that we're doing at Brian Brody Associates for the Brian Brody Show. All right, thank you all so very much. Have an absolutely fantastic Sunday, and if you take anything away from this, please remember who you are and that you're here to pull that sword from the stone. Have an absolutely fantastic day.